the feel, or how it looks at the top, or if it's even real. We ain't selling dreams, but we live in some. No arms license and still we stick to our guns. We here to live for ourselves first. And if in doing that it helps you, so be it. Let it drive. Let's go. We're gonna live in full.
Keep living my life. I've been chilling out around but you.
Better talk to him.
I'm gonna take my time and find what's right for me. I'm gonna live my life.
We gonna live life. I said no more empty glasses or even half full. When the world see that we blessed more than a handful. That's why you can't put your finger on it, we got the touch. Never perfect, living with purpose, that be us. Open the curtains, we give the real like behind the scenes. We give the heart in our chest and wear it on our sleeves. I don't lend my clothes so you know it's really me. I cop that so I rock, that's how it really be. But metaphorical, speaking my piece, that when I do, haters zip they lips like it's rhetorical. My past experience makes me an oracle. Don't believe when it's from me, so I write it down allegorical. Ain't trying to be the clouds, always overheads. Sometimes I gotta be the ground to hold you down and stand. For yourself first, then we go get the fam. Build them up, set them up like it's already planned.
Good morning. It is wonderful to be here with you this morning. Just a couple of quick things we want to say before we get really started. The first thing is we want to say thank you to all who make Paradox possible by donating at paradoxgiving.com. Thank you for your generosity. It continues to blow me away every week. I also have to tell you that we have an awesome kids program here at Paradox Church. And kids, if you would be willing to, they got some noisemakers as part of a story. If you can get those ready, and on the count of three, we're going to have them make their noise with their noisemakers. Does that sound good? We'll see if this actually works. All right, yeah. Okay, you ready, kids? Yeah. All right, there's one kid that's ready. All right, on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. All right. They got some duck collars this morning. It was wonderful. So it was about a story from Whatever Wanda, and it was about having a good attitude. So we just finished our Super Value series, and I cannot thank all the parents and the coordinators who made this series possible, and we want to say thank you very much. Now, thank you very much for those duck collars. Let's my kids blowing the duck collars while I'm talking. We'll have to talk about this after the service. We as people are people of seasons, right? Think about for how long humanity has been introduced to or influenced by winter, summer, spring, and fall. Think about how that has changed the way of life and what it is that we eat and who we are and how we behave and interact with one another. But with modern technology, seasons from the earth have gone back further and further into our distant memory. Right now, it's very easy for us to get any fruit that we desire any time of the year in just about every grocery store in the country. So we've seen this shift from how we understand seasons outside to how we understand seasons inside. Think about when you go to your local retail store, they often have a section marked seasonal. And it's the things you're supposed to buy during that season, right? Not only that, but if you look at the calendar, we have just introduced a brand new season or entered into a brand new season that was kicked off yesterday with what day was it? Black Friday. Thanksgiving was 2 days ago. Black Friday was yesterday, and it's a season that goes all the way till December 25. And what is this season called? Buy things season, right? That's what we're supposed to do. And while this is part of our culture and part of who we are, what we have to acknowledge is the season of buy things is a recently invented season in human history. It is only because of the supply chains and mass consumption and all of these different retail stores that we've been introduced to this season that we participate in every year. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with the season. We just have to acknowledge that it is a new season. And when we participate in the season of buy things, we are doing something new in human history, right? Well, last week we talked about our plan for the next 3 years, which is to follow the lectionary and also the liturgical calendar. And the liturgical calendar is the Christian calendar that is made up of these seasons, and these seasons run in this order in these days. Now, we are right now in the first weekend of Advent. And Advent is the first season of the Christian calendar. Now, if you've heard the word Advent before, it's often in connection with the calendar, which you open up one day at a time. And this is a tradition that goes back all the way to the 5th century. So if you participate in Advent, you are participating in a season that has been going on for 1,500 years. Now, of course, the season of buy things has seen the Advent calendar and thought to themselves, we can make some money on this. And so they've introduced all sorts of ways for you to buy these different Advent calendars. And what's important for us to acknowledge is that when we practice Advent or acknowledge or participate in the season of Advent, we are tapping into something much deeper. As one of my mentors, Kim Krogstad, once told me, she said, I like to think of the season of Advent as kind of the Pepto-Bismol to the Christmas season. To say, hey, we hear this Christmas season today, which is you are here to buy things and buy as much as possible, and your love is measured by the amount of presents you can buy for your loved ones around that tree. That's what this is all about. Advent comes crashing in and reminds us something very important every year. We do not exist to buy things. That's not why God created us. And while it's okay to buy things, it's not the summit of our human achievement if we can buy as many things as possible, right? So, with that in mind, we have to ask the question, what is Advent? Because there's all of these different seasons, and Christians are very familiar with the season of Christmas. It's a celebration of Christ's birth. But the season before it that starts the Christian year is the season of Advent. And the whole season is this anticipation of something great on the horizon. Not only that, but Advent is looked at as more of a somber season where you acknowledge the reality of what we endure today. In other words, during the season of Advent, we voice our suffering and also validate our hope. It is a season of anticipation that acknowledges that we have come into this new year with some pain, with some baggage, with some heartache. And we voice all of those hardships that we have faced. And at the same time, we say, but maybe something better is on the horizon. So today's service is the first service of the Advent season, and it's an invitation for all of you to reflect and participate in Advent, to both voice your own suffering and also to validate your own hope. To start this service, I have to tell you about a tradition that happens here at Paradox. Every year, my kids celebrate a birthday in December. My son Bodie was born on December 12. My daughter Maya was born on December 24. And we celebrate their birthdays here at the church by me writing a letter explaining to them what the Christmas season is. And when we started thinking about how we were going to practice Advent, the first thing that came to mind was these letters, because it's this reality of what we face buttressed against the hope that we hold so tightly to. And while you have heard me read letters to my own kids for years now, we thought it would be worthwhile to invite other parents to enter into the Advent season and write letters to their own kids. So we have invited Ranjini and Newton, as well as Mattie and Jordan, to write letters to their kids that embody the Advent season. And so I'd like to invite up Ranjini and Newton at this time.
Ellie and Rohan, we were nervous when we chose to become parents. Nervous about what our individual parenting styles would look like. Nervous about taking on this delicate responsibility of raising another human. Nervous about the state of this world. Ellie, you were 2, and Rohan, you weren't even born when we went into lockdown due to COVID. You announced yourself at the height of the pandemic. Our family, like many others, was hit particularly hard during this time. You know what, though? We got through it as a family. We supported one another, we became more resilient, and it brought us together. Now you are 4 and 2. The world is moving on, and we have newer challenges to face. Climate change, women's rights, global political tensions, and social injustice. Things that your generation will have to confront. Ellie and Rohan, Mommy and Daddy love you more than you know, even though it's not always apparent, especially when you're both screaming at the top of your lungs and throwing your toys all over the house. We wish we could leave you in a perfect world. The truth is, we can only help you discover your own path. We promise you both that for as long as we are alive, we will support you in the good times and the bad as you pave your own way in this world. Here are some things we want you to remember as you grow. Treat everyone with compassion. That simply means that if you see someone suffering, do what you can to help them. The smallest actions can sometimes have the biggest impact. And remember, you are never to judge someone else's suffering. Fight for those who are oppressed and downtrodden. Your greatest gift is your voice. When you lend your voice to the voiceless, you can help end their struggle. This is one time where you can scream and shout as much as you like and not make Mommy or Daddy mad. Our prayer for you both is that you always stay true to who you are and that you're kind to yourselves. You are our hope for a better place. We thank God for the 2 of you. Love always, Mommy and Daddy.
Dear Griffin, you have been born into and have lived 6 months in this world. We have watched you take in this earth with pure awe and wonder, eyes wide open, ready to experience it all. You love to stare at the beautiful new faces that greet you. You love to listen to the sound of birds chirping on our walks. And you love to feel the blades of grass between your fingers on our picnics in Caroline Park. We see the world reflected in your eyes, and we know that it is good. Your dad and I have seen beauty in giant mountains formed by glaciers, untouched crystal clear lakes, and wildflowers that fill the hillside in the spring. We have experienced the magic of creating music and art. We have felt immense joy of falling in love. We're still thanking your Auntie Kimmy for that one. She set us up. And now we have participated in the ongoing creation of life that is you. Life has given us all of these things, and we feel immense gratitude.
Amidst the gratitude, however, is a constant, humbling reminder that this world has deep wounds and scars. These wounds and scars may make it hard for you to see the world with the same awe and wonder you have now. People will continue to hurt one another and destroy the goodness that you see in this world. But remember the wisdom of Mr. Rogers as he sings, "Sometimes people are good and they do just what they should. But the very same people who are good sometimes are the very same people who are bad sometimes. It's the same, isn't it, for me, and isn't it for you? You, Griffin, have a light inside of you. This light can shine on the world, adding to its beauty and its gifts. This light can also easily be overshadowed by darkness. As you grow and this world continues to change, we have much hope. We hope that as you experience the natural beauty of the world, you are inspired to fight to protect it. We hope that as you participate in creation, you bring intention instead of simply adding to the noise. We hope that as you find love, you also fight for love and use your voice to expand its limits. We hope that the good in this world becomes clearer and more available to all."
Griffin, the world is already a better place with you here. It needs you and will forever be changed by you. Our world is oh so good. We love you, Mom and Dad.
Hello. At this time, I invite you to open the bag that was on your seat and take out the long piece of paper and the pen. And we're all going to take a moment to reflect, and I want you to write down an answer to this prompt. If you could ask God to change one thing in the world, what would it be? And once you're done writing, there's going to be a bucket at the front for you to put it in, and then we will read them together.
Thank you for sharing. The exclusion of racist gender identities and get rid of hate. Remove inequality. We all would know truth and accept our belovedness and shine this light in all we are. I wish God could change homelessness. It has taken, what? In most parts of LA, it has taken over most parts of LA, people afraid of these people, but those people are doing their best they can to survive. I would ask him to change the mind of those who oppress. Heal divisions and remind all people that our commonalities are greater than our divisions. Power hierarchies. Driving fear, the kind that make one do bad things. To help everyone feel loved and worthy of this life. I would ask God to take away illness, physical, mental, spiritual, so everyone could be healthy. Change greed and desire to wealth. Abuse of any kind, and Brussels sprouts. The us versus them mentality. If every person took a second, maybe a couple seconds, to truly see the people around them and wonder what may be beneath the surface. Selfishness. The need for people to be right over the need for people to connect. People could be less cruel. A culture of fairness. Hate. Peace on earth. People's hearts for the good. Create love. Community and love. Pleasing to make people stop doing. Please try to make people stop doing crap like hating queer people. To eliminate fear, the root of hate and injustice. Take away hate. No wars of any kind. Well, thank you again for sharing. We've just come from a week where many of us have been celebrating thankfulness. And as Craig was saying, you know, we're in the season of Advent now that we're beginning. And it's funny because when I first read that was what it was going to be, that prompt question, and I thought, oh, I'd like to take away suffering. And then Craig goes on to say, well, the season of Advent is the combination of suffering and hope. And I was like, oh, well, I don't want to take away suffering then. I'm going to take away Advent. So, but just hearing, you know, what you all have shared and what the parents have shared and the music and how it makes us all, there's the good and the bad, but that is what makes us complete. And in this time, we often, holidays can be challenging when you've lost someone. And some of you may have lost somebody to death, but there are also other reasons why somebody may not be in your life at this point in time. And in the holiday season, it's a little bit more sad because there's a lot of things that remind us of them. The holiday season is often a time of togetherness, and there's things that we may have done or shared, and it brings up memories that can be opening up wounds and make us feel sad all over again. And so this morning I just wanted to share with you about someone who our family has lost recently this year. And we talked about it. My aunt, she was a member here at Paradox. She was here since day one. So, and when she couldn't be here in person, she was always here online. And she knew many of your faces and would always greet everybody with a smile and take the time to get to know you. And she had lived a long life. She never married, but she had her siblings and her nieces and nephews that she cared for as her own. And some of the things that I remember of her was travel and shopping. So for several summers growing up, my sister and I would go visit my aunt and my dad and all of their siblings and cousins, and we would go to New York or Canada, Florida. We'd drive across the country, and this is before they really enforce seat belts or car seats. So we all just piled up in one van, and I don't know how all of us kids managed in that back convertible seat into a flat bed. Driving across Canada, driving from Canada to Florida, all the way down to the southernmost point. But those are memories that we'll always have, and we have pictures that can remind us of them. And those are the good things. And so while we miss people that are no longer with us, for whatever reason it is, we have those memories to hold on to. And I always tell, my family, my kids, or my husband, you have to have that bank of the good things. So if you have your bullet journal or whatever, and you write down all the good things, all the memories, what are the things that fuel you or that refill your bucket, so that when you're at your lowest of lows, you can reach into that and pull out those things and remember them, whether it be a photo book, whether it be a certain song that you like. But that's one of the memories that Auntie Maury always taught us, to laugh. And I think one of the things we'll miss hearing is her laugh. And it was just full of just deep mirth, if you will. And it was very hearty. And, we always, we have those memories and even share them on when our social media reminds us of what happened some time ago. And then we could hear her laughing in the background. So.
The buttons of my coat were tangled in my hair.
One of my favorite authors is a man named John Green, and he wrote a novel just a few years ago called Turtles All the Way Down. And there's a scene in this book that, in my opinion, encapsulates the Advent season perfectly. I'm going to actually read from that book and have a little bit of a reading here and bring you into that story. I'm just going to give you a little bit of context so you can understand what's going on. The main character in this book is Asa Holmes, and the book is written from her perspective. This is a work of fiction. She has sort of met and sort of fallen in love with this guy named Davis Pickett, and the thing that they have in common is they have both lost a parent. They are both teenagers. Asa lost her father a few years ago, as did Davis. He lost his mother a few years ago as well. Now, the way that Asa remembers her father is that she has his phone and she has the password and she scrolls through all of his pictures because she can see life from his perspective. So she shared this with Davis at this point and asked Davis, how is it that you remember your mother when you're feeling lonely for her? And they go out for a walk on an abandoned golf course, and this is the scene that unfolds, and happens at night. We read, "We kept walking until we reached one of the oblong sand bunkers of the golf course. Davis lay down inside of it, his head resting on its grassy lip. I lay down next to him, our jackets touching without our skin touching. Davis pointed up at the sky and said, 'So the light pollution is terrible, but the brightest star you see, there, see it?' I nodded. 'That's not a star, Asa. That's Jupiter. But Jupiter is like, depending on orbits and stuff, between 360 and 670 million miles away. Right now, Jupiter is around 500 million miles away, which is around 45 light minutes. You know what light time is?' 'Kinda,' I said. 'It means,' Davis said, 'if we were traveling at the speed of light, it would take us 45 minutes to get from Earth to Jupiter right now. So the Jupiter we're seeing is actually Jupiter 45 minutes ago. But like just above the trees, there, those 5 stars that kind of look like a crooked W?' 'Yeah,' I said. Davis continued, 'Right, that's Cassiopeia. And the crazy thing is, the star on the top, Kaf, it's 55 light years away. Then there's Shidar, which is 230 light years away, and then Navi, which is 550 light years away. It's not only that we aren't close to these stars, they aren't close to one another. For all we know, Navi blew up 500 years ago.' 'Wow,' I said. 'So you're looking at the past?' 'Yeah, exactly.' I felt Davis fumbling for something. His phone maybe, and then glanced down and realized he was trying to hold my hand. 'So you see Saturn up there?' He told me, 'how you can tell the difference between a planet and a star, and where different constellations were. And he told me that our galaxy was a big spiral and that a lot of galaxies were. Every star we see right now, Asa, is in that spiral. It's huge.' 'Does our spiral have a center?' 'Yeah,' he said. 'Yeah, the whole galaxy is rotating around this supermassive black hole, but very slowly. I mean, it takes our solar system like 225 million Earth years to orbit the galaxy.' After some time, we went to Davis's bedroom. He knelt down to show me how his telescope worked. He plugged some coordinates into a remote control, and the telescope moved itself. When it stopped, Davis stooped to look through the lens, then cleared the way for me. I looked inside, and he said, 'That's the star Tau Ceti,' he said. The way the telescope was zoomed in, I couldn't see anything but darkness and one jittering disk of white light. 12 light years away, similar to our sun, but a little smaller. 2 of its planets actually might be habitable, probably not, but maybe. That star, Tau Ceti, is my favorite star.' I didn't know what I was supposed to be seeing. It was just a circle like any other. But then Davis explained, 'I like to look at this star and think about how the sun's light looks to someone in Tau Ceti's solar system. Right now, someone on Tau Ceti is seeing our light from 12 years ago. In the light that they're seeing, my mom still has 3 years left to live. This house has just been built, and Mom and Dad are always fighting about the layout of the kitchen. In the light they see, you and I are just kids. We've got the best and the worst of it in front of us.' 'Well, Davis, we still have the best and the worst of it in front of us,' I said. 'I hope not,' Davis said. 'I sure as hell hope the worst is behind me.' I pulled away from Tau Ceti's 12-year-old light and looked up at Davis. I took his hand, and part of me wanted to tell him that I loved him, but I wasn't sure if I really did. Our hearts were broken in the same places. That's something like love, but maybe not quite the thing itself. It sucked having a dead person in your family, and I knew that what he meant about seeing solace in the old light. 3 years from now, I know he'd find a different favorite star, one with older light to gaze upon. And when time caught up with that star, he'd love a farther star and a farther star. Because you can't let the light catch up with the present, otherwise you'd forget. That's why I liked looking at my dad's pictures. It was the same thing, really. Photographs are just light and time.
Sunday mornings were your favorite. I used to meet you down on Woods Creek Road. You did your hair like you were famous, even though it's only church where we were going. Now Sunday mornings I just sleep in. It's like I buried my faith with you. I'm screaming at a God I don't know if I believe in, 'cause I don't know what else I can do. I'm still holding on to everything that's dead and gone. I don't wanna say goodbye, 'cause this one means forever. And now you're in the stars, and 6 feet never felt so far. Here I am alone between the heavens and the embers. Oh, it hurts so hard. For a million different reasons, you took the best of my heart and left the rest in pieces. Digging through your old birthday letters, a crumpled 20 still in the box. I don't think that I could ever find a way to spend it, even if it's the last 20 that I've got. Oh, and I'm still holding on to everything that's dead and gone. I don't wanna say goodbye, 'cause this one means forever. And now you're in the stars, and 6 feet never felt so far. Here I am alone between the heavens and the embers. Oh, it hurts so hard. For a million different reasons, you took the best of my heart and left the rest in pieces. I'm still holding on. I'm still holding on. I'm still holding on. I'm still holding on. And I'm still holding on to everything that's dead and gone. I don't wanna say goodbye, 'cause this one means forever. Now you're in the stars, and 6 feet never felt so far. Here I am alone between the heavens and the embers. Oh, it hurts so hard. For a million different reasons, you took the best of my heart and left the rest in pieces.
During these moments and these seasons of lamentation, it's so easy to fall into the darkness and feel like God isn't present in these moments. So at this time, we invite you to text in all of the moments and all the times where you feel like God isn't present.
Oh man, I have to tell you, when I read that line from that book, about 3 years from now, I knew we'd have to find a different favorite star. It wrecked me. Not only that, but what took me by surprise was just this morning, as I was reading this, I got choked up and I had a hard time reading it in front of all of you. Because there's something so very real and scientific and human about all of this. After all, if you were to be on the surface of Tau Ceti or in that vicinity, you would still see everything as real and as perfect as it was 12 years ago. And while that's a difficult concept to kind of wrap our minds around, there is some poetry inherent in the way that light bends and shapes and forms the way that we experience this existence. This poetry was tapped into by one of my favorite singer-songwriters, a man named Ryan O'Neal, who goes under the moniker Sleeping at Last. The first song I ever heard from this man was a song called Saturn, and the poetry of what is real just takes my breath away every time I hear it. He writes, "You taught me the courage of stars before you left, how light carries on endlessly even after death. With shortness of breath, you explained the infinite and how rare and beautiful it is to even exist." There is something about the life that we live, how even after our death, there will be this light that travels endlessly on from the point of our earth forever and ever and ever into the universe, at the very least of what this existence is. And when I think about the stars and what they represent and what they tell us about all of the cosmos and how they've participated in this existence with us, there is this line from the Psalms that I keep coming back to that just always brings me some form of comfort. The psalmist writes, "God determines the number of stars, and God gives to all of them their names." And so here we are on this tiny little planet in this tiny little speck in a solar system that is barely readable when you look at all of the Milky Way. And yet here we are living our lives and understanding that we also encounter suffering and pain and heartache. I mean, just reading all that people had gone through was really difficult when we talk about the absence of God. And so a question we have to ask ourselves every Advent season is, what suffering are you carrying with you today? Because it's real, and yes, it hurts. And anytime somebody rushes you into the Christmas season and says, like, "Isn't God good all the time?" It's okay in Advent to say, no, it's not always good. No, there is heartache, and that heartache is real. Conversely, though, Advent at its heart is a paradox. Because you have to ask yourself also the question, what hope are you holding on to when you think about the future? And hearing the letters from Ranjini and Newton and Mattie and Jordan to their kids about what they hope for, what their future will be, is deeply moving and just as much a part of the Advent experience. So tonight, when you look up at the stars, and yes, we have blocked them out with all of our light pollution, I want to invite you to think about what the Advent season means to you. Who is it that you are grieving? What is it that you are grieving? What suffering are you carrying with you? Because I have to tell you that when I think about this Advent season, I want you to know that today I'm grieving the loss of all four of my grandparents. It's been years since they've passed away, and yet I still miss them. I watch my parents interact with my kids, and it just melts my heart. And at the same time, there is this sadness because I remember how much I loved running into my grandma's house in Minnesota, how much I loved every Monday morning with my grandma here in Redlands. And I will never, ever forget the love that all of my grandparents embodied and gave so generously to me. So even though it is the Christmas season, and even though we're looking forward to things, I am still here grieving the loss of all four of my grandparents. And yet I know it's not the end of the story. And if someone were to ask me, what is it that I actually hope for when it comes to losing grandparents? I think that more than anything, I'm hoping that just in some way, shape, or form, that I will feel close to them again one day. That I will feel their presence, that I will be able to see them in some form or another in the future, and that hope in Advent is just as real as well. And so today, when I ask you what it is that you are holding, that you are grieving, and what it is that you are holding on to for hope, May you understand that in all of this season of Advent, that these things are real and worth spending time with. All of us here are enduring suffering and also clinging on to some form of hope. And all I can say in response to that is, thank God we have each other. Amen. Thank you that we have each other who are willing to share what it is that is burdening our heart and also buoying our heart. Thank God that we have each other to encourage one another and also to suffer alongside one another. Amen. Thank God for these seasons where we don't have to say it's all happy all the time, but instead can say, you know what's really bothering me? And no one tries to correct you or tries to make you feel like it's okay because you know it's not okay. May we be a community of Advent. May we be a community who both suffers together and also hopes together. And may you, during this season, trust both the goodness and the reality of all that you experience. And may you find that it is truly rare and beautiful to even exist. At this time, I want to invite each of you to reach into the bag. There is a candle in a shorter strip of paper. You can write on there the name of someone you are grieving the loss of, and then bring up the candle and place it on this smaller stage at this time. And we are going to sing the song Saturn together. So feel free to write any name on there that you'd like, and we will have you bring the candle up here, and we'll go from there. Thank you for joining us for Advent season. Will you please bow your heads with me? Dear God, remind us that we were not created so that we could buy things. Give us the compassion we need to feel how our hearts are broken in the same places. Help us to be grateful and not bitter for the people we have loved and lost. Show us how the hope that we hold is real and not some exercise in vanity. Inspire us to change who we are so that our children may have a better future. And love us in a way that reminds us it is rare, beautiful, and good to exist. In the human name of Jesus and in the eternal name of Christ, amen. Thank you so much to all of you for participating in our Advent service. We will continue our Advent season next week, and we hope that you have a great weekend, and cannot thank you again enough for participating and reflecting and sharing so genuinely. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.